Welcome to my channel. This is an indication of some of the things that I cover on a regular basis in my videos. If you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to do so, and don't forget to click the little bell so that you'll get notified of future videos. Please feel free to share my videos on your social media, and I hope you enjoy the video which follows. Well, hello everybody. I have a new toy. I got a new drone. If anybody's interested in make and model, it's called a Mavic Air 2. First clip here isn't terribly interesting, but I'm including it because it's the very first time I got it up in the air and figured out how to take a bit of video. I'm at an area on Campobello called Southern Head. The water that you can see there is part of Lake Glen Severn. The lake is long and narrow. It's about 1 kilometer long. You're seeing the first maybe quarter of the lake. And it's separated from the salt water in the ocean by a sandbar. Eventually I swing around so you can see some of the ocean there. It's coming into view. It is fresh water, very brown looking, because all of the water that's in it drains out of a swamp area, which is a lot of peat moss. So the water is the color of Coca-Cola. There's a button on the control that you press, and the drone returns to home automatically. You don't have to do anything further, and this is what it's doing here. It's flying back to where I was standing next to my truck. The bit of land that you can see off to the right with water in between, that's Lubac, Maine. And the land that you can see off to the left, a little streak of land, that's the island of Grand Manan, one of the 3 Fundy Isles, Campobello, Grand Manan, Dare Island. Before it lands, it always turns back to this direction, and if you could hear what was happening on the controls that I'm holding, it says landing. It marks the location with GPS just before it takes off and announces that it has marked where home is. So once you press the return home button, it comes right directly back. Next I went up to the southern end of the island. This is Mullins Lighthouse. You can see the Franklin Roosevelt Bridge off to the left there a bit, and that's Lubac, Maine across the water. The lighthouse is no longer a functioning lighthouse. It's part of the Roosevelt International Park. Since they put the bridge in, the lighthouse ceased being a functioning lighthouse. Evidently the lights on the bridge do what the lighthouse used to do or whatever. I don't quite understand that. I've never understood it, but anyway, it's being preserved and maintained by the park, so that's very nice. You're supposed to be able to get the drone to lock in on something like that lighthouse and then do a 360 degrees around it, and I tried several times here without any success. One of my other clips coming up further on in the video here, I did manage to get it to do it. It's a learning process, but the thing is very user-friendly. It's coming in, I guess, for a landing here again. One more clip at the lighthouse before I leave. There's always a lot of boats moored off of Lubac. You can see off on the right-hand side there. They don't have a very good pier or breakwater. Those are all usually commercial fishing boats, small fishing boats. Every time there's a major storm, they all rush over to Campobello to a safe mooring at a wharf or a breakwater or something. Well, my next visit was a few days later. I gained a little more confidence. I'm at an area called the Lower Duck Pond Beach. The water that you're seeing isn't the duck pond. The duck pond is fresh water, and eventually I fly the drone out far enough to we actually get a look at it. But this is one of Angel's favorite places. We go to that beach frequently, and she loves to throw sticks offshore so she can go swimming there. Just trying to get the drone to fly on further so we can see the duck pond. It's quite amazing. When the drone is this far away, I can't even see it. I'm monitoring it on the screen of my iPhone. You can control it with an app from the iPhone, as well as the controller. There, the duck pond is starting to show up. It's a fairly large body of water. I don't show it all in this. It's not large, not huge, but it's a good-sized pond, and there are a lot of waterfowl that breed and raise their young in it in the spring. Again, that's Graham and Ann off on the horizon there, that little streak of land, the other side of the water. And now it is doing its automatic return home. My next visit was to the North Road Breakwater. I grew up in this part of the island. Spent many days fishing mackerel and flounder and whatever off of that wharf. And this is where I finally got the drone to do its thing where it will just circle and fly on its own. So I tagged it onto the boats on the pier, and it is doing a circular flight around them. It's a beautiful day. Sun sparkling on the water. See that grayish beige house? That short pier, the house just at the end of that short pier, that's my maternal grandparents' home, or was my maternal grandparents' home. It's in very poor condition right now, and I understand it's probably going to be demolished beyond repair. The people who owned it the last few years just let it go. Now we're coming home again. You should be able to see me One of those little dots down there is me with the controllers. This sort of gives you a better look at the little village. The house that I grew up in is at the top on the right hand side. You can see a relatively large house there, gone now. It was about a 15-minute walk or so from the breakwater. These clips were taken, the last clips here were taken on the July the 28th, the day that I am getting this put together to upload it for this weekend's video. And this, in my humble opinion, is the world's most beautiful lighthouse. It goes by two names, Eastquaty Light or Head Harbor Lighthouse. The design on the lighthouse is called St. George's Cross. It's at the extreme northern end of the island. Low tide, when this is taken, all of that exposed seaweed there would be covered at high tide. And at low tide, visitors can go out. It's being maintained by a group of volunteers, and they have done a fantastic job of renovating and painting and keeping it looking very nice. They charge an admission in the summertime, in July and August or whatever. They have some students that work at a little booth there selling tickets to go out, and the money that they charge, money that they make from the admission, goes towards the renovation and upkeep. But I'm not certain how many years it's been now, probably 7 or 8 years since they got control of it, and they have done an incredible job. It's a lot of hard work and all done by volunteers. It's still a functioning lighthouse, even though it's now privately, or not privately, it's owned by a not-for-profit organization, but it's still, the light still functions, and it's automatic. It comes on when it gets dark, of course, but it also has a sensing system that continually sends a beam off into the distance, and if fog is coming in, it turns on the foghorn, and I can hear that from my house quite loudly. I was getting a bit nervous. That's a long ways from where I was standing, and there's a lot of water around. And it seems to be a slow return when I asked the thing to come back this time, so evidently at the altitude that it was flying at, there must have been some wind. Next, I moved on to Head Harbor Breakwater, which usually has the largest of the fishing fleet in, but there weren't a great deal of boats there today. Also, it's under renovation. You see the big crane there, and maybe that's why there aren't so many boats. They've gone and tied up at some of the other breakwaters instead of staying there. But it's an extremely safe, long, narrow, safe harbor. If you've ever been to southern France and seen any of the Calanque, the long, narrow channels, naturally produced channels in the rock, this reminds me of it. The ones in France, of course, have high stone walls either side of the channel of water, and they're full of luxury yachts, but this is an extremely safe harbor. It's long and narrow and well sheltered. It seems that every fisherman that uses it has a floating barge or whatever, a platform, to store their gear and to work on gear and that sort of thing. It's the only wharf that's like this on the island. You don't see those anywhere else. Well, as the drone has started its way back, I put it up to a higher altitude, and eventually you get to see down the length of the harbor out to the very end of it. Point of land off to the left, that is where Hit Harbor Lighthouse is, and the island is Hit Harbor Island, privately owned by the same family from New York, the Bernards, for over a century now. It's about a 100-acre island. As it comes into land beside my truck, you get a little look at me here, watching it carefully on my iPhone. Well, the final clip, I stopped by the community garden. I had to water my potato patch, so I thought you might enjoy seeing an aerial view of what it is like. The lawns, as you can see, are very brown. We've had a warm, very dry summer so far. And the gardens, if you don't remember, the gardens are in front of the Campobello Lodge nursing home, seniors complex. A 30-bed nursing home, I think I'm right in saying. Now take a little look at the village of Welsh Pool. That body of water is Harbour de Lute, Harbour of the Otter in English. And the village. The round things in the water, in case you don't know what those are, it's what I call a toxic salmon farm. Farmed salmon. I will not eat the stuff. You can see the one sort of larger white house in the trees on a point of land, the only house around. That's the Owen House. It dates from the 18th century. Originally, the island was granted to Admiral Owen, and part of that house is still the original homestead. I'm a little nervous when it flies this far out over the water. If it were to run out of power and drop, I would never see it again. That was me issuing it its order to come back home, and evidently at the altitude that it was flying at, there was quite a bit of wind. It's a very slow return. I was a little on the nervous side. The bay there is called Friars Bay. Sometime in another video I'll show you why. There's a pinnacle of rock on the end of a headland that it's called the Old Friar. I hope I haven't put you to sleep. If I use video clips from my drone in future, I will edit them down into something shorter. But I just want to see what they look like myself, I guess, this time. First few times that I've used it. We're coming back into the lodge on the left there, and the buildings with the red roofs, that's the former Adams estate. It's 3 very large log cabins, and it dates from about 1900. It's now part of the Roosevelt International Park. They put the red metal roofs on, which I don't like, but at any rate, it's a very nice that they're restoring and maintaining the buildings. Well, I will leave you alone and let you watch the rest of this as the drone lands, and I'll just say thank you very much for watching.